Tiny's off to a new adventure.
Let's plop in. Hello, welcome back to the Potty Mouth Show.
Guys, we mentioned that the show would not be possible without the help of our sponsor, Circle City Tint. They give you the premium in-window tinting for a very low price at $169.99, and that's any shade they have and a lifetime warranty.
Lifetime warranty.
If you guys want to check them out, give them a call 317-788-8468 or go to their website www.circlecitytint.com. Now on to the show.
Today, we're following Tiny on another adventure.
In a segment we like to call Between the Sheets.
Oh yeah.
Welcome back to Between the Sheets. I'm Aaron. This is Blakey Pooh. Hi. And today we are reading the sequel to Tiny's Out to Sea. Remember that story?
Nope.
Remember the blue jay got knocked out by a coconut and was laying down on the raft?
Oh my gosh, yes we do.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't
that
seen that one, go back and watch Tiny's Out to Sea. It'll be like right here somewhere. Okay, are you ready to see Tiny conquers the big tree?
Yes.
All right, come here. Get cuddly, get cozy, and let's read about Tiny once again. Tiny the bear is one of 7 kids in his family. He wasn't born first and he wasn't born last. He was born right smack in the middle of the pack, and being the middle child is bullshit. Tiny is the biggest of all his siblings, which is why he doesn't hunt like his older siblings, and why he doesn't gather like his younger siblings. Tiny used to be afraid of a lot of things. He's opened up to trying a lot more stuff lately, like fishing, building, and making new friends. The problem with being a bear is that most woodland creatures are too small and afraid to even get to know the big lug like Tiny. They take one look at him and they tend to hide and burrow away. That's just as well. Being ignored gives him more time to do outdoor activities. One day, as he was taking a leisurely wander through the woods, he watched a couple of squirrels race up a tree. "That looks like fun," he said. "Maybe today is the day I learn to climb a tree." So he found himself a good tree, low branches, thick and sturdy, but small enough that he could fully get his limbs around it. And he began to climb. He struggled and slipped and gripped and pushed for what felt like several minutes. Right then, Blueberry the blue jay flew by. "Hi, Tiny. What are you trying to do?" "Oh, hi, Blueberry. I'm just trying to climb a tree." "Well, Tiny, it doesn't look like you're doing too well. You've only made it a few feet." Tiny looked down and saw how close he was to the ground. He tightened his grip on his arms and let his feet fall down. They returned to the ground without him even having to slide to meet it. "Well, this sucks." "Why would you want to climb a tree?" "I've never climbed a tree before. Not to mention, all of you birds seem to enjoy hanging out up there." "Well, of course we enjoy hanging out up there. It's got some stupid views. But Tiny, you aren't even meant to be in trees. If you were, you'd have been given wings. You're meant to be on the ground where you're less likely to break something." "But Blueberry, the squirrels don't have wings and they seem to have plenty of fun in the trees too." "That's because they need to hide from bigger animals like you. I can fly away, but if I couldn't..." Why would I turn into a southern guy all of a sudden? "You'd be a pretty scary ass mofo to me." "Too. And squirrels have better claws for that climbing stuff you do. Trust me on this, big guy. You don't belong in the trees." And with that, Blueberry flew off into the treetops, and Tiny watched until he could no longer see his blue friend. He was starting to get fed up with Blueberry. Blueberry always talks to him, but it wasn't like he was ever very nice or overly helpful. He wasn't going to let a bird get him down about where he belongs. He could kill him if he wanted to. Well, maybe he could. He couldn't hurt a fly, but he could send his sister Porkchop to sit on him. If you don't know who Pork Chop is his half-sister, a pig. What would Blueberry have to say about this? That the most feared beast in the forest wasn't Tiny, wasn't even a bear at all, but a female boar. He continued to look for a good tree. He found another further along. It had even lower branches, and he could actually reach from the ground. This will be better, he thought. Now I won't have to bear hug just to get up to the trunk. He took a second to ponder if that was the origin of the term bear hug before getting back to business. And he began to climb. When he was about 10 feet from the ground, he looked down to realize that he didn't feel safe up there. He even slipped down a few times and almost racked himself the last time. It was hard to get comfortable and stay balanced up on the narrow branches. As he sat and pondered how he was going to get a better footing in the trees, a squirrel fell right in his lap from a branch above. The shock of the fall was enough to knock him off balance as well, and they both fell the 10 feet onto the forest floor below.
Ouch.
Yeah, it did hurt, didn't it, Blakey Poo?
Yeah.
After he checked himself, he looked over to see that the squirrel was okay. Hey, little buddy, are you okay? Squeaker, squeak, squeak, squeaking.
Oh, no.
What are you saying? Squeak, squeaking, squeak, squeakity. Okay. I've never spoke squirrel, but I really thought I'd be able to understand you. I can understand all other animals. Squeak, 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 squeaker, squeaking. Okay, yeah, cool. Tiny turns to walk away and leave the squirrel behind. But his last conversation with Barry still left a bad taste in his mouth, making him pause and turn around. I need to find a way to make myself a comfortable and safe way to sit in the trees, he told the squirrel. I've definitely fallen on my butt a few too many times this week. Looks like you could use a little help staying up there too. Do you want me to help? The squirrel nodded. Tiny couldn't tell if he understood him, but Blueberry was full of shit because squirrels weren't afraid of him. At least not this one. Blueberry was full of shit. At least not this one. It could be that this squirrel was too stupid to fear a creature so much bigger than him. But he didn't care. He was happy to have someone to talk to. He thought back to his recent trip out to sea and remembered that he was always comfortable on a raft that he made with Blueberry, and thought that maybe he could make a raft that could sit in the trees, make it a platform of sorts. So he began to mime to the squirrel what they needed to do and what they needed. They spent the rest of the afternoon collecting logs and vines, climbing the trees, and building a raft platform supported by the branches. As the two friends laid out on their platform staring at leaves and sky above, they felt a sense of accomplishment. Hey friends, said Tiny, what can I call you? Squeak, squeak, squeakity, squeaker, squeaker. How about Squeak for short? Squeak, the squirrel responded. Should I go, squeak? Should I do that, like different voice? Squeak, 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 squeakity, squeaker, squeak. How about Squeak for short? Squeak, the squirrel responded. I'll take that as a yes, said Tiny, as he nuzzled into a more comfortable position. Right then it began to rain, large droplets pelting Tiny, and one drop landed right in his eye. What do I do now? It's not like I have a den up here in the trees to burrow in when it starts to rain. Squeak made a quick sound to get Tiny's attention and then pointed to the tree next over, where Tiny spotted a woodpecker making a hole for a new home in a tree. He said, turning back to Squeak. What if we made ourselves our own den in the trees? I've never built a shelter, but I've erected a mast on a raft before. Maybe we could build from that. So the two friends went their own separate ways, agreeing to meet the next day to make themselves a floating fortress in the trees. The next day, they continued to gather logs and vines and drag them up onto their platforms, and the two friends worked to build a kick-ass home in the trees. When they were done, they stood in their newly constructed treehouse with a sense of pride. Tiny knew he'd become a skilled contractor, but this was pretty much the dopest thing he's ever done. Right then, Blueberry flew by. Tiny yelled out, "Hey, Blueberry!" Blueberry returned to the door and gasped when he saw Tiny standing in his new house.
Reread that sentence.
Yep, I'm going to read that one more time. Right then, Blueberry flew by. Tiny yelled out, "Hi, Blueberry!" Berry turned to the door and gasped when he saw Tiny standing in his new treehouse. "Tiny, what in the world are you doing living in this tree?" "We built a new den in the trees. Do you like it?" "Why would you build a den in the trees? You have a den on the ground with your family. And you, Benjamin," he said as he turned to the Squeak. Have your own whole 10 trees over there. Have your own whole 10 trees over there?"
Do I need to read that for you?
Have your own whole...
And you, Benjamin, turning to Squeak, have your own tree.
And you, Benjamin, And you, Benjamin, he said as he turned to Squeak, have your own whole 10 trees over there. Are you going to live here now with a bear while your mate raises your chipmunks? Squeak. Oh, shit. Squeak, your name is Benjamin? Tiny said. Squeak looked at him and nodded. What else could he say? It's not like he could explain himself. Before Tiny could wrap his mind around what Blueberry was saying about Benjamin, the squirrel flung himself at the bird, and they both fell out of the treehouse and to the ground. Berry pecked Benjamin roughly on the head, and Benjamin pulled some of Berry's fluffed feathers right off his wings. Get off me, you fluffy tail monkey! A distraught Tiny climbed down the tree to stop the madness. After he gently separated the two, Tiny finally spoke. Blueberry, I wanted to spend time in the trees, and I didn't really like that you told me I didn't belong here. So I made a friend, and I built my own house. And now I'm going to tell you that you don't belong here. Blueberry was taken aback. What do you mean I don't belong here? I'm a bird. I belong in the trees. Maybe so, Tiny said. But you do not belong in my tree. You have no right to tell me I don't belong in the trees or out to sea. I belong anywhere and everywhere I want to be. But you do not belong with me. I'll turn to Dr. Seuss here for a second. Yeah, said Benjamin. And you don't tell me where I can spend my free time. Tiny did a double take. Squeak, you can talk? Yeah, every time I fall out of a tree, I break. I fall a lot, you see. But it doesn't last long. As soon as I fall again, I get my speech back. Every time I fall, I start squeaking. I have to stay away from my chipmunk album, Simon and Teddy. Because Valerie doesn't want me to teach them how to squeak. She barely keeps together when I do. Okay. I'm sorry I couldn't explain sooner, but I like you, Tiny. I wanted a friend who didn't mind my squeaking. And I thought if I helped you build the den, that you'd let me stay here when I couldn't go home. Well, this home is yours as well. All right, again. Well, this home is yours as well whenever you need it. And with that, Tiny and Benjamin climbed back into the treehouse and shut the door on the close-minded Blueberry. They don't need that kind of negativity in their lives. You know what, Benjamin, said Tiny? I'd be happy to teach you how to squeak anytime you'd like. Wait. You know what, Benjamin, said Tiny? I'd be happy to have you teach me how to squeak anytime you'd like. And this has been Tiny Conquers the Big Tree.
Bye.
I'm Aaron. This has been Blakey Poo.
Goodbye.
And we'll see you next time on the Potty Mouth Show.